So let's talk about this in-season tournament day. First, what I want to say is shout out to the in-season tournament because I didn't see a single real blowout, or a game that I didn't think was going to be close. Every game was like 2 to 7 points apart. And I just want to preface that because I do believe that that is very important to what I'm going to say. So today I'm just going to be talking about the first day of in-season tournament, the games, what happened, and everything. So I just first want to say that shout out to Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, right? Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Steph Curry. In my opinion, those guys had the best games last night. And even though I do know that there are some better stat lines, I do want to say that those are the stat lines that mostly caught my eye. But I will be going game per game and just, giving a little rundown of each. So first I want to talk about this Cavaliers and Pacers game. It was a 5-point win by the Pacers, which surprises me as the Cavaliers are supposed to be one of the best teams in the NBA, but I guess they're not. Well, this game was highlighted by the fact that the Pacers just went on a tear in the last quarter. The Cavaliers won the third quarter very convincingly, and even though they were still down. There is something to be said about the fact that the Pacers had to beat them in the fourth quarter just to win this game. What I do want to say about the Cavaliers this season is that their offense has looked very inconsistent. And even with Donovan Mitchell dropping 38 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds on great efficiency, they still can't manage to put out their lineups, which are amazing. And I believe that this is because Darius Garland has just completely shut off this season. He's a guy who last season averaged like 20 and 10. He was one of the leading assist men in the league. And I believe that what happened was that after he went to the playoffs, his confidence probably went to the ground. They lost in an embarrassing fashion. And now his role as the distributor of the team has just been completely bottlenecked by the fact that he just doesn't play the same anymore, and I believe that he has to fix that. For the Pacers, they were literally just playing Pacers basketball. Halliburton gets a lot of assists, everyone else eats and gets very effective looks. Shout out to Bruce Brown and Miles Turner. They played amazingly, and also to Halliburton. For the Bucks and Knicks game, I want to say shout out to Jalen Brunson because he almost won this game for them. If it weren't for the fact that Damian Lillard dropped 30 points and that the Bucks were working at full efficiency, I do want to say that it probably would have not been the same game. So I just want to say that because Jalen Brunson did almost just win this entire game for them, and that's something that I don't want to overstate as how important that would be for them. Jalen Brunson had 45 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. Another player who played great was Julius Randle because even though he didn't have the efficiency, he still was contributing on other sides. And Quentin Grimes. With the Bucks, Giannis played terribly when it comes to just scoring-wise. He had 22 points, but he was extremely efficient, making 100% of his shots from 3 and hitting 60% from the field. But this was just really the Damian Lillard game where he hit a clutch shot in the end of the game. He scored 30 points and 4 assists. They didn't really need more. It was Damian Lillard. Come on. So then, this Wizards and Heat game, I do want to say that Miami was winning the entire game, and they won so much throughout the game. Then it just became that in the fourth quarter, it was going to be hard for them to blow a 20-point lead. I do want to say the Wizards got close as they scored 13 points in the last quarter, and Miami only won by 7. But in the end, it's just, they won. But I do believe that the Miami Heat have to rough themselves up a little bit. I want to say that Jordan Poole played great this game, and Kyle Kuzma did too. Those two guys really are looking like the stars for this team, and I don't believe that Danny Avdia, should be complaining about his role when he isn't doing what those guys are doing. But yeah, in this case, it's just the better team won. Shout out to Jimmy for actually putting up 20 points and for actually doing something and being efficient. because honestly, Jimmy Butler has been trashed this season. And shout out to Tyler Hero because he's consistently been the best player for the Heat and the only guy putting effort on offense, right? Also, shout out to Bam because it's hard for Bam to have bad games. Then I want to go to this Bulls and Chicago game. No, not this. The Chicago Bulls and Brooklyn Nets game. I'm sorry. This game obviously was probably the closest game. That was not the Golden State game, but I'll talk about that one later. This one ended on a pair of free throws from Mikal Bridges, and Zach LaVine shot a prayer up in the end, but it didn't work. Basically, with this game, it was just two teams which are about equals in terms of their production, facing off against each other. I will say that Brooklyn Nets team is looking great, and a shout out to Spencer Dinwiddie for becoming really the playmaker and the offense runner for this team, for this game, scoring 10 points, 9 assists. I also want to say shout out to Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, which both played great, and Cam Thomas finally had a game where he didn't score 30 points, but he still scored 17. For the Bulls, it was just Bulls things. DeRozan scored pretty well. LaVine played well, I guess, but he shot terribly from three. And the rest of the team was just okay. For this Warriors and Oklahoma City game, it was very close. These are two teams which can score up to 150 points if they really want to because they're such high-scoring teams. Two of the highest in the NBA. They played a great game. Steph Curry went crazy and hit the game-winning layup, which was almost called the goaltend on Draymond, but it wasn't in the end. And when it comes to OKC, Lou Dort played phenomenally, hitting 6 for 6 from three. And Chet Holmgren had a pretty good game, scoring 24 points, 8 rebounds. I just want to say that where is Shea? I don't know. I think he's hurt, but if he would be playing, then I don't think this game would have gone like this. And I think the Warriors would have probably lost. The Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson tried, Desmond Bain tried. Those two guys have been putting up ridiculous numbers this season, both averaging, I think, 30, or at least averaging, if you add up all their counting stats, they're averaging 30, but they can't. They've been terrible, and they haven't won a game yet, the Grizzlies. The Blazers won, which I can't. With this game, it really ended because Jeremy Grant hit a three, and then there was a foul. But honestly, if we really want to talk about it, shout out to Shaedon Sharpe, and shout out to Jeremy Grant. They both played great. Also, Malcolm Brogdon. But this game was just kind of, the Blazers, which have won 3 games and lost 3, just playing good offense, honestly. All that I do want to say is that Scoot did not play, and that surprises me because I don't know why he didn't play. Finally, my favorite game of this day was the Dallas Mavericks versus Denver Nuggets game. These two teams are obviously teams which the fans expect them to see each other. They're both teams led by European superstars which play similar games, like they're box score heavy. They're both very clutch, and they both are friends, honestly. Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic faced off against each other, and they had a great game. It was obvious that Denver was probably going to win, but Dallas Mavericks tried. But Denver scored 40 in the first quarter, and in the final quarter, they scored just enough for Dallas not to be able to go on a run on them. But really, this game was highlighted by the incredible performances of Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. Luka Doncic dropped 34 points, 8 assists, 10 rebounds on great efficiency, and Nikola Jokic dropped 33 points, 9 assists, and 14 rebounds on almost perfect efficiency, missing only 2 shots the entire game. If we really want to talk about it, this game was probably the best. It was really interesting, and even though it wasn't as close as the other ones, this game highlighted what probably, the playoff matchup is going to be like. And in my opinion, I do really see Denver repeating as champions if they keep going like this. Like the Dallas Mavericks hadn't lost a game, and they were going up against actual good teams, or teams which were actually had some credibility to them and had beat other good teams. But now they just they got their first loss, an 11-point loss to Denver. Shout out to Denver, shout out to the Dallas Mavericks, and shout out to this first day of the in-season tournament. I will say that those courts look pretty terrible, but maybe it's just because I'm new to this to seeing them on the floor. But yeah, tell me what you think, and I'll see you next video. Peace.